So Blue Giant is actually, as you can see from this, it says volumes 5 and 6. So there's 10 volumes of Blue Giant, but they have, it's actually technically 5 published volumes because they put the volumes together.
Yeah.
Now, this story is very inspirational. It's about following your dreams and doing everything you can to be the best version of yourself. In this case, it's a kid who starts playing saxophone, wants to be the best jazz musician out there. He lives in Tokyo, and he starts learning, tries to play a few times, and you see him stumble and fail and be embarrassed here and there. And I just didn't want the shiny of the reflective thing. There was a game underneath that? Alright. Then you see him meet this musician that actually traveled overseas to go to Berkeley. Now, Berkeley, there's only 2 of those schools in the whole world. One of them is in Massachusetts, the other one's in California. It is literally the Harvard Law of Music School. You must audition. Mm-hmm. You have to go through 3 different auditions. Then you can possibly get in. And obviously, being a music school, they have their theater, their dance, or all that stuff. So the teacher that this kid meets wanted to be a great jazz musician. Back when jazz was a little bit more popular, would have been in. Teacher's in his 40s. This is set right around modern time, so I want to say mid 2010s, right. or early 2000s. And so that means that the teacher was graduated in 1980, 1990, traveled overseas, and he's I want to be a great jazz musician. I want to be a blue giant because jazz is sometimes referred to as blues because there's a sub. Within the whole rhythm and blues, there's just regular blues. There's smooth jazz, funk jazz. There's so many different subsections. I'm not going to go in on this. I should have grabbed my uncle before he went to church. For him to be oh yeah, no, all the subsections of jazz is this, and then he'd go into a 5-minute deep dive about each one. But as this kid grows, as the MC grows, which I actually forget his name. Oh, and it's right here. Tenor saxophone. That's the specific one that he plays, and his name is Dai. I'm not even gonna say his last name. His first name is Dai, Day, whatever. And honestly, as you see him progress, he moves from his small little county to Tokyo, and then he meets up with a friend of his, and then he meets who becomes his drummer. And then he meets up with this great pianist, right? And this kid's been playing since he was 4 years old. Kind of a lot of tension, but you see them evolve and grow as a group. And then they finally get to go and play at this one really hot spot. That you've made it in the world of jazz music when you've made it to that one spot, especially in Tokyo. And then being 19, 20 years old, in college. Some shenanigans ended up happening to the pianist, and then they had to disband. With them disbanding, I'm not going to go full into the story, and I'm going to explain what happens next, because it's really, something happens to the pianist, they have to disband, and right as the kid's, not knowing what he's going to do, the tenor saxophone player, he then sees his old teacher, that he hadn't seen about a year or two, and his teacher said, well, if you really want, if you go to America and try to make it in jazz, you gotta be amazing, and you still have some growth to do. Here's what I'm gonna tell you to do. What he told him to do was go to Europe, mainly France, and then go and play in France, expand your horizons in France, and then come to find out that when you go on Amazon to try and find this, it actually has a sub-name. Yeah, which is Blue Giant Omnibus, or whatever, Omnibus. It starts with the next one is Blue Giant Supreme. This is a 3-part series. And each part takes a different place in the world. And most of the story takes place in a year and a year to 2 years. But even then, I was all right, cool. Let me. No! We do not have the English version. It's not even translated into English yet. It's translated into German and French. So I was a lot disappointed. I cannot find it anywhere. I mean, I might try and find the Portuguese version, but it's like it just won't have the same sentiment to me because then some of the idioms are gonna go right over my head.
Before we move on to that one, I do want to add that Blue Giant really appealed to me because my little brother was a saxophone player in high school.
Really?
Yes, he did Barry sax,
Okay.
or baritone saxophone, and he pretty much played from around junior high all the way to through graduating high school to the point to where he wanted to go to college for it, but he wasn't able to land a scholarship to the school he wanted, and he's not going to play. He doesn't want to play for the school around here because I agree with him. It's not about helping the player flourish. It's about politics of the university. And not going into that, but at the same time, he did really enjoy it. I think he's exceptionally well. And that's why I liked it so much, and I actually did. I didn't dive into reading it, but I read a lot of synopsises for it. I looked up 3 different synopsises as I was writing the script, and was pretty much learning about it because the parallel between him learning his craft versus the manga is very, very on par, to the point to where I even sent it to him, was you're gonna have to give this a read sometime. Because this is more up your alley.
So that's the thing. The Blue Giant was what got me reading actual paper books, even though it's a manga. But
right.
And even though I only started collecting manga maybe back December of last year of 2021, but Blue Giant was the first one I bought because the cover. Is the very first one is just him with the saxophone, kind of being there, and as someone that is a musician that plays acoustic guitar and electric bass, I was
right.
and that he's in the zone, he's in a moment, and he's literally feeling the vibes around him.